Is that the microphone? We ready? And we already have a couple hundred people just coming in. So I'm going to say we have members of Congress here. We'll start with Congresswoman Marcia Fudge, and she can come over and say she's from Cleveland and proud to be here. They're going to clap. Okay. There we go. Good evening. This is Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. Welcome to my third Teletown Hall meeting for my district. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight to discuss the federal issues facing you and your family. Before we get started, I want to let you know that I am joining you live from the United States Capitol. We're trying something new tonight. We have lots of folks here. We just finished voting on 3 pieces of legislation that impacts the nation's safety and security. In the room with me tonight are constituents visiting Washington, special guests, and yes, members of Congress. As the members come in, I will acknowledge them. And let me just say, Congresswoman Marcia Fudge is here. 11th District, Ohio. Hey, Columbus, how you doing? Woo! And yes, all the way from Hawaii, we have Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard.
All the way from Hawaii, I send my aloha to you. I have the privilege of serving with your Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. She represents the great state of Ohio, as she tells everyone every day, and I'm so proud and honored to serve alongside her. You're well represented.
Thank you, Tulsi. And yes, we have Congresswoman Michelle Lujan Grisham.
I'm really excited to be here, too. I represent District 1 in New Mexico, which is Albuquerque, our largest city, and some rural areas. And what a pleasure today to say hello to Columbus and your district, Joyce, and I'm honored to serve with you. And I'll tell you, nobody's working harder than Joyce Beatty in Congress to make a difference. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much for being here. And we have our newest member of Congress on our side of the aisle, Congresswoman Robin Kelly.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Beatty, for allowing me to be a part of your Teletown Hall meeting from the U.S. Capitol. What a great idea, but you have so many great ideas, I'm not surprised. And you're not only from the great state of Ohio, you're from the 3rd District in the great state of Ohio. And I'm from the great state of Illinois, the 2nd District, and it's an honor to be here to serve my constituents, but also to serve people all over the United States and to have people like Congresswoman Beatty that you just heard from and all of my other colleagues. Thank you so much and have a great, productive evening.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. We're going to keep introducing folks, but let me just remind you that we are going to take questions during the question and answer segment. And if you have a question, please press 0 and you will be assisted. I just noticed that we have my good friend, Congresswoman Kyrsten Sinema is here.
Now, Joyce, I just want to say hello to all the folks on the line. You guys already know this, but you have got the best member of Congress in this whole freshman class. I am privileged to sit next to Joyce in the Financial Services Committee, and every day I'm in there, I'm just impressed with her knowledge and her commitment to her constituents, particularly in the area of housing. So, Joyce, you're just doing a great job.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. Also, please be aware that the call is being recorded tonight. We will post the recording on our website for individuals who are not able to participate in the call this evening, but want to hear the content of the call. Remember, if you have a question, press 0. Now we have one more member who's just walked in, Congressman Matt Cartwright.
Well, thanks, Joyce, and I want to say to all your listening audience that it's an honor and a pleasure for me to partake in this. You know, Joyce Beatty is somebody that from the very first minute she joined our freshman class has done just that. She has added class to our freshman class, and I'm so proud to serve with her. I'm from the Keystone State, and we don't always like the folks in the Buckeye State, but I'll tell you, we're so proud of Joyce Beatty and the job she's done to stick up for regular working Americans in the middle class, and I hope I'll be working with her for many years to come. Thanks, Joyce.
No, thank you so much. Let me also say that after this call, we'll be sending out a survey via email to learn more about how I can serve you in Congress. We hope you like this new format that we're doing. We want to let you know that members on both sides of the aisle are coming together to try to work together. I hope you will participate because it's important for me to know your opinions. Let me share with you that, as you may or may not know, I have 2 offices serving you. My Washington, D.C. office is located in the oldest congressional office building, Cannon House Office Building. That's 417 Cannon House Office Building, and the phone number is 202-225-4324. My district office is located at 471 East Broad Street in downtown Columbus, the heart of the district, right on the bus line and ample parking. And the phone number is 614-220-0003. I am pleased to acknowledge again that we have several constituents who are here with me in the Capitol this evening participating in the Teletown Hall in person. They represent a wide range of individuals, including students, healthcare professionals, researchers, stakeholders, corporate executives with energy companies, and the list goes on. And you've heard from some of the members of Congress who are here, and more will be joining us this evening. I'd like to start the Teletown Hall with an update of our congressional activities in the 3rd Congressional District. But don't forget, if you would like to ask a question, press 0 to be assisted. In early September and November of last year, I hosted district-wide telethon halls I was live in the district, where we had thousands of constituents to call in and to ask questions. Most of the questions centered around the Affordable Care Act, Syria, veterans benefits, education, and the economy and jobs. In January, I held a State of the District where we had over 600 individuals who came together to learn more about what's happening in the 3rd Congressional District. One of my main goals in hosting district-wide town hall events is to be able to bring Washington to the district. I want to provide an avenue for my constituents to ask questions and provide suggestions and feedback. Remember, if you have a question or a suggestion for me, please press 0 and you will be assisted. Over the past 18 months, I have hosted numerous roundtable discussions with diverse constituent groups, including labor unions, financial services, retailers, energy providers, healthcare providers, and I have even hosted The Ohio State University, Columbus State Community College, Ohio Dominican University, in my Washington and Columbus offices. I meet regularly with students and educators from our district area schools, and I had the pleasure of hosting my 2nd annual Congressional Art Competition. We had more than 16 district-wide schools to participate and 92 pieces of art. I am very proud to say that we had all of our members of the Central Ohio to come together, and we hosted a bipartisan, yes, a bipartisan arts reception. Let me just also share with you that I promised to bring Washington to the district. Well, I did just that with Congressman Al Green from the 9th District of Texas, who joined me in Columbus in May at a roundtable financial service and housing forum. Congressman Green is the ranking member on Financial Services Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigations. We were also joined by leaders from the community, including the President and CEO of the Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority, Charles Hillman, Hal Keller, President of the Ohio Capital Corporation for Housing, Maud Hill, Vice President of Homeport, Daniel Burke, Director of HUD Regional 5, Office of Multifamily Housing, and Ms. Sandra Jamison, a member of the Second Baptist Church. Over 50 financial services, not-for-profit, and government representatives filled the meeting room at the Columbus Metropolitan Housing's Jenkins Terrace on May 14th. And I might add that the meeting was held in the Joyce Beatty Community Room. Just last month, then Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Sean Donovan, announced a $30 million Choice Neighborhood Initiative grant for the Near East Side. The grant will be able to leverage many times over services and will help rebuild the neighborhood. I am thrilled to have worked with Secretary Donovan to secure these funds that will create jobs, repair aging infrastructure, and attract businesses and other opportunities, particularly for those who live and work in this storied community. Mayor Coleman also matched the $30 million with $25 million, all right there in where? The 3rd Congressional District. We also brought the district to Washington, D.C. On April the 28th, 2014, I welcomed 14 corporate leaders from the Ohio's 3rd Congressional District to Washington on a fly-in for a day long. It was called the Women in Leadership Fly-In. The group spent the day meeting with senior congressional advisors, elected officials from both political parties, and other women in senior positions in Washington. Throughout the day, we engaged in dialogue about a wide range of policy issues, including equal pay for equal work, paid sick leave, and early childhood education. And guess what? The highlight included a meeting with senior White House staff in the Roosevelt Room, just steps away from the Oval Office. As you can see, it's been a busy 18 months serving you in Congress. My office has responded to over 60,000 correspondence, including emails, telephone calls, letters, and faxes. We've held hundreds of meetings in the district and in Washington. I've introduced 17 bills and co-sponsored 306 pieces of legislation. Last week, I'm really excited to share that constituents propelled us to the top of a social media contest held by congressional leadership. And I am happy to report we finished 26 out of 226. Platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and others allow me to hear from you and to continue our conversations on the medium that works for you and your schedule. The House of Representatives has taken 454 roll call votes, and 127 public laws have been enacted in the 113th Congress thus far. And if you have any questions about the legislation I introduced or other topics, remember, press 0 for assistance. And now it is my distinct honor to say to you, we've had 7 members of Congress to join us, but it is my honor now to say none other than the Democratic leader, Nancy Pelosi, has just joined us. Leader Pelosi, would you like to make a few comments or say a few words to the constituents of the 3rd Congressional District?
I would indeed like to do that. First of all, I want to thank your constituents for sending you to Congress. I thank you for the invitation to be on your Teletown Hall, and I want to take the time to say that in the short time that Congresswoman Beatty has been in the House, she has proven herself to be an energetic and effective legislator. You know that. You expected that. I want you to know that she is so highly regarded here. She has delivered bipartisan progress, even in this highly partisan and gridlocked Congress. Last week, her legislation to improve our nation's response to victims of child sex trafficking unanimously passed the House. And let me just say this, usually freshman members do not have legislation passing the House, so it was highly unusual, a real tribute to her leadership, and passed unanimously without one negative vote. That's because she knows how to get things done. As you may know, before Congress, Congresswoman Beatty was a successful small business owner committed to empowering other women to thrive as business owners and entrepreneurs. Here, she has been a key leader in our effort to unleash the full power of women in our society and our economy and every aspect of our lives as a country, and that is called When Women Succeed, America Succeeds. When we asked Congresswoman Beatty what she thought of that idea, she said, "I'll let you know after I consult with my constituents." And so she had conversations with all of you, many of you on that subject, came back and endorsed us, invited us to Columbus, Ohio, to bring our bus tour to Columbus to hear more from women directly about how they can balance a home and work in a better way. So it's about raising the minimum wage, it's about equal pay for equal work, it's about paid sick leave, and it's about affordable quality child care, all of it helping families. In all aspects of her work here, Congresswoman Beatty brings an unwavering commitment to empowering the people and communities she serves. One place where she does that is on the Financial Services Committee, adding balance to the Financial Competitive Act, helping increase access to capital and credit for privately insured credit unions, strengthening small community lenders in Columbus and across the country. Again, she understands the private sector. She knows what we should do in the public sector. Her judgment is respected by all of us. It's been a pleasure to serve with her and an honor, and certainly a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you, all of you who are being so patriotic to take your time to engage with our democracy by joining this call. Now it's my honor and privilege and pleasure to turn the call back over to your Congresswoman, our leader in the Congress, Congresswoman Joyce Beatty.
Let me just say the honor is mine to have Leader Nancy Pelosi here live with us in the U.S. Capitol. Let me also say to the leader that we have some 5,000 people who have joined our conference, and we have reached out to 13,095, and the numbers keep going up. So constituents of the 3rd Congressional District, thank you for continuing to join us. Let me say she really did not need an introduction, but for some of you, let me just say we have only had one female to ever serve as the Speaker of the House in this wonderful country that we live in, and yes, that only person to do this is Leader Nancy Pelosi, who has joined us. Let me thank her for mentioning my bill. That was H.R. 5111 that did pass unanimously, and I'm so pleased to share with you that that bill makes sure that a child is no longer a criminal, but instead it makes the child the victim. And right in our district, I want to let our audience know that each year we have an estimated 1,078 Ohio children who become victims of human trafficking, and some some 3,000 more children are at risk. Let me just say to all of you out there, thank you for your support. And let me take a moment to talk to the women, because certainly one of my favorite lines is, when women succeed, America succeeds. And our leader was far too modest. It was her leadership and working with other women in the caucus to make sure that we have a platform that talks about women succeeding, because it helps not only women, but it helps families. So it helps women and men succeed. So again, Leader Pelosi, thank you so much. Thank your team for being here and always being a supporter to me. Let's give her a big round. Yes, and one of the things, we're reaching across this nation, so to all of my sorority sisters and fraternity and all the members of Pan-Hellenic, we are taking this across the nation with civic organizations, joining us to make sure that we get our message out and that we work with women not only in the 3rd Congressional District, but in every congressional district. And you're going to hear more about that later as well. Thank you, Leader Pelosi.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Beatty.
I would also be remiss if I did not tell you that Senator Rob Portman is working on a similar bill in the House with Senator Chuck Schumer. So we are hopeful that we can get this bill out of the House, out of the Senate, and yes, straight to the President's desk for a signature soon. I would like to take a few minutes to provide an update on a few of the critical issues facing our district and our nation. I recently introduced the Sidney Crawford Resolution, House Resolution 623, legislation to enhance awareness and support the research and treatment of dyslexia and other learning disabilities. This legislation grew out of a conversation I had with Sidney Crawford at my State of the District event. Sidney, if you're listening, we're fighting for you and so many others who are also have dyslexia. As we move into a discussion on jobs and the economy, I want to remind you, again, push 0 if you want to ask a question or give us some advice. Jobs in the economy. The recession has had a devastating impact on working families. It caused approximately 7.5 million Americans to lose their jobs. In fact, industry after industry was left greatly damaged by the recession, with manufacturing and construction industries hit especially hard. In October of 2009, unemployment peaked at a staggering 10%, but we are coming back. We've had 52 straight months of private sector jobs growth, and the unemployment rate is down to 6.1% in comparison to 2009. This is a success in comparison to where we should be. Congress can do more to help Americans. We need to advance unemployment insurance reauthorization so those who have lost a job through no fault of their own can have a helping hand until they get settled. I have signed letters in support of acting to provide workers to help to get them back on their feet. Creating jobs and growing our economy is a bipartisan desire, and it may only be accomplished through bipartisan actions. There are areas where we can find agreement, retraining workers, and the elimination of tax incentives that encourage companies to ship jobs overseas. Just last week, President Obama signed the Workforce Redevelopment Reinvestment Act into law. I supported the bipartisan legislation when it passed the House and look forward to helping it work in our district and throughout the nation. This August, I will embark upon a jobs tour throughout Ohio's 3rd Congressional District, where I can learn more about Central Ohio's workers and employers and how the employers need to be more productive and contribute more to our economy. I am looking forward to being back in the district, talking to our business owners, our not-for-profit members, our educators, our entrepreneurs, and workers in general. Central Ohio is an excellent example of a place where we work together and get things done. Let me just take a moment to talk about the Transportation Highway Reauthorization Fund. The Highway Trust Fund is forecast to expire as early as late August of this year. It looks like the House and the Senate have worked out a bill that would provide almost $11 billion to avoid a shortfall in the Highway Trust Fund. Last week, I supported the House version of the legislation, and now we wait for the Senate to act. I hope Congress will move away from short-term fixes and start working together to make the difficult decisions our nation needs and deserves, which includes funding this important priority. The Highway Trust Fund is about jobs, commerce, safety, and the future. By acting now, we can keep the construction industry booming, and the many jobs it creates will help our economy. We will also fix our ailing infrastructure, our bridges and roads. Our economic recovery depends on continued funding and ability to keep planned highway projects moving forward in the future. Before beginning my term in the United States Congress, I actually stood on the ramp to I-75 with workers to advocate for enhanced transportation funding and to rebuild our nation's infrastructure. I have worked to deliver for Central Ohio. In my meetings with Transportation Secretary Fox in Washington and actually in the district, I have advocated for federal investment in Central Ohio. With our bridges, roads, and airports, it is critical that we keep our goods and people on the move so our economy may grow. As we move into the discussion of voting rights, I want to remind you to push 0 to ask the question or to give us some advice. When I think of voting rights, it's important for me to remind you that just a few weeks ago we celebrated the 50 years since President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act into law. The rights enshrined in that law and the rights found in the Voting Rights Act are being eroded and are under increasing threat. The Supreme Court's failure last year to uphold key provisions of the Voting Rights Act of 1964 is one of the most detrimental and short-sighted actions the court has taken in recent times, Shelby versus Holder. After the Supreme Court decision, I held a teletown hall about voting rights, and hundreds of the district constituents called in. The call reinforced what we already know. All citizens should have the right to vote. This is one of our most basic principles. Communities that historically have been disenfranchised should be protected by the government. I am a proud co-sponsor of, and Congress should pass immediately the Voting Rights Act of 2014 to ensure that all Americans may cast their ballots to choose their leaders and public servants and to honor the legacy of our great civil rights leader. As I close out my overview portion of the town hall, I encourage you to ask questions and to provide comments by pressing 0 on your phone. I hope you have liked our new format. You can see I have been busy working for you in Congress, and I want to hear from you during tonight's event so I can better serve you and our community. And at this time, we will take our first question. We have Carol from Columbus.
Congresswoman, you mentioned, yes, hi, Congresswoman. You mentioned House Resolution 623 for our dyslexic students, and I want to thank you for your support of that. As a parent with a child with dyslexia, I can speak firsthand to what an important educational issue this is, but frankly, a civil rights one. And in fact, many of us are on the call. We do appreciate so much what you've done from the Olentangy Dyslexia Network and Decoding Ohio. Could you tell us a little bit more about 623 and how we can help you garner support?
Well, one of the things, as you probably know, when you introduce a bill or a resolution, doing what you're doing tonight, calling in, getting people to write letters to other members of Congress so we can get more people to sign on to the bill. I'm very pleased to tell you that we do have bipartisan representation on the bill. There is actually a dyslexia caucus in the United States Congress. So this bill is going to hopefully do more education and awareness so we can learn more about the illness and have better hope for young folks and those who aren't as young as the individual we named this bill after. So we want you to continue calling to support it. It's the beginning step for us. And thank you so much. Next on the line, we have Gabby from Columbus. Gabby, are you there?
Yeah, this is Debbie. And I'm calling asking about if there's going to be any bipartisan on the unemployment. There's 3 extension just for 5 months. We're not asking for 2 or 3 years. There's 3.5 million people waiting for an answer. And from what I understand, there have been 10 bills since last October that haven't gotten on the floor of the House, to be voted. I understand Boehner's sitting on it, which I don't see how he can. And you mentioned the unemployment rate about 7. From what I'm understanding, it's about 12 because a lot of us have dropped, our unemployment has run out. We're off the radar. But there's a lot of us with families that would just like to know if they even care about us or they're just throwing us under the bus. And, if they're not going to give us an extension, if they just tell us no.
Well, let me first say thank you so much for this because this is very important to me because you can't talk about jobs in the economy and working for families if people are not employed. I can tell you and the constituents in the 3rd Congressional District that I have signed on to several letters asking us to bring this to the floor. We cannot continue to have short-term fixes, but unfortunately the leadership on the other side has not supported that and brought it forward. But I don't want people to be discouraged. We are going to continue to advocate and fight for this. So just don't give up on us. And one of the things you can be helpful is to continue to do what you're doing now, because the more that constituents and citizens call in and make sure that they voice their dissatisfaction with us not at least bringing it to the vote. So thank you so much. Okay, we have several callers coming in. Next we have looks like Rob from Blackleg.
Thank you for taking my call. My question deals with the crisis that is occurring in Ukraine. Some of us here, my wife is a naturalized U.S. citizen recently, and we have applied for immigrant visas for her family members, and we've worked with the powers that be, but there seems to be no effort in the Congress, the Senate, or the White House to grant family members of folks that are in Ukraine and in the middle of this conflict the ability to have their immigration visas expedited or granted refugee status in order to get these people out. And, it just seems to be indicative of the problem that we have with immigration as a whole. What can be done for U.S. citizens whose family members are in the middle of this mess over here to get these people out?
Let me just say thank you for this, and certainly this has consumed our electronic and print media, and we have been following this. And today, the United States announced more severe sanctions against Russia. We are also targeting financial asset and diplomatic channels are being worked on as we speak now. This has been difficult, but I can tell you this goes back to my state of the district. Very similar to your question, we had a young lady who came to our state of the district. She had a huge sign, and she was asking us to be supportive. We have stayed in contact, and we are trying to be as helpful as we can. And I think when we look at the sanctions, the more severe sanctions that just came out today, that should at least put us on the right track. We would also like to hear from you with any suggestions you might have. We have several people who have a question around the same issue. What are we going to do to end Russia's aggression? What are we going to do to be more supportive of the Ukraine? Is there any advice or suggestions you have for me for something you would like to see us do?
Yeah, I think one of the things that the United States can do is, obviously, the United States being directly involved militarily is neither wise nor warranted, but we certainly could provide the ability for the Ukrainians to defend themselves, providing them with weapons and ammunition to be able to provide a self-defense, because if you follow this at all, what's being marketed as separatists really is special forces of Soviet military. These people are not, regular Ukrainian citizens trying to deal with a civil war. This is an act of Russia trying to create a land bridge from Russia to the Crimea.
Well, let me just thank you, and that was very helpful to me, and we are taking notes on this. I have a full staff here with me right in the U.S. Capitol. We also, after we go offline, have people here as our guests who we're going to allow them to have input. We have some very talented students from The Ohio State University and other colleges here. We have a researcher and an advocate here. So I'm going to be soliciting a lot of help from some of the experts in this field. We also have a full complement of staff right there in the 3rd Congressional District in our office. Our next call looks like it's Jim from Gahanna.
Hello?
Jim, there?
Yeah. Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
The reason I called was that I'm a disabled veteran, and I've had an appeal going on since 2008 for unemployability. I'm on Social Security, so they've approved it. But I was disappointed in that they made the big hoopla of coming through and checking appointments and stuff with the VA, and then all of a sudden it's died. I don't see any repercussions or anything. I know my appointment times are still extended at the VA. When I go out there, I've been waiting since early August or early July to get in to see a specialist about my back pain, and he's going to determine whether I need surgery or not. And that's becoming more the norm than the exception.
Absolutely. Let me say this to you, and I assure you that the issues that we're dealing with veterans and the Veterans Office is not on the back burner in the 3rd Congressional District or even in Congress. I can tell you that I have spent a lot of time visiting in our veterans facilities. I also had the opportunity with the acting secretary to work with him there. And as you probably know, we have a new secretary with Ohio roots, Secretary of the Veterans Affairs Office, Secretary McDonald, who was the former president of Procter & Gamble. So one of the things, we don't have a VA hospital in the 3rd Congressional District, but I can tell you that our services at our centers is a lot better than some of the other congressional offices, and they're using us as a model, even though we too have problems. But I can tell you that I was certainly disappointed to learn that we had veterans waiting for months to see a doctor, the backlog of claims. I've made several visits to the office of the Secretary to meet with them and to tell them that we stand with the veterans. We have actually someone in our 3rd Congressional District office right there in Columbus who specializes in working with veterans and taking your information down. We have an ongoing dialogue with our regional office in Cleveland. So I assure you that it is not on the back burner. Let me also tell you that I signed a letter to the House leadership that Congress should not even adjourn until we vote on this important legislation. That's how important it is that we had an overwhelming number of members of Congress who signed that letter. I can also share with you that recent reports indicate that the House and Senate have come to an agreement on legislation that would authorize some $15 billion to reform the Department of Veteran Affairs. So it may not seem like it on a daily basis, but I can tell you that it's on the front burner. The legislation was just revealed this afternoon, so I'm still reviewing it. I don't have all of it, but I can tell you it seems that it will give the Veterans Affairs Secretary McDonald a brand new broad authority to fire or demote senior officials accused of mismanagement. And it will create a system where veterans can seek private care. And this is really important. If the VA doctors are unable to treat a veteran within 14 days, you would then be able to go to a private physician so you would not be waiting and God forbid, have something traumatic happen to you. So I can assure you that I will be following up, and if you want to stay on afterwards or contact our office and give them more information, we'll work with you. And thank you very much for that. This is very important to us. Next, we have Walter from Columbus. Walter, are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm very honored to be able to be in on the town meeting. I've known you for 30 years or more, you and your family, and I would just like to know if this Congress, with all the things that they have to do, would take on any kind of insane action to attempt to impeach this president. And if that is the case, is there anything that you can do to countersue that Boehner action to stop this? Because there's no basis in my mind to do that. I'm a Vietnam-era vet, so I was listening to that other gentleman. So could you tell me if they're going to do
thank
that?
you. Thank you so much, Walter, and thank you for all the work that you have done over the years. And I think I like one of the words you used in it, insanity. I think that when we first heard of the impeachment, I can say to you that even the members of Congress here have said that that's the wrong direction to do. However, there was the lawsuit, so it was twofold. It was impeachment and lawsuit, and I think the lawsuit is a waste of time and money, and what we need to do is get back to work because it's certainly a distraction. And I am very confident that the courts will stand with the president and those of us who are working hard for the families and the individuals in our district. I think it's mean-spirited, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And I can tell you that the president certainly has a lot more support than you see or hear. We have important things. You know, as being a veteran, you just heard from the last call, we have the unemployment, we have child care, education, and certainly we have to look at making sure that our young folks have affordable tuition and that we have quality child care. So we have a lot of work that we have to do, including, as I talked about in my opening remarks, getting the Highway Trust Fund. We have even those who want to talk about immigration reform, and the list goes on and on. So thank you, and we're not going to let this distraction get the best of us. Okay, next on the line we have Sarah from Grovesport. Sarah, are you on the line?
Yes, it's Sharon.
Sharon. Okay,
right.
Sharon.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank you for your service for our district, and it's an honorable job that you're doing, and it's a hard job. And I have a question about the Samoan immigrants. A lot of people have asked me or mentioned that the Samoan immigrants that come over here get a tax break for 7 years, and then they immediately get health care, and they can get small business loans and everything to start up businesses. Is this true? And how can the citizens in our country get, the tax breaks that they get?
I'm not aware of those things at all. My understanding is that they are not treated any differently than anyone else who would be here if they are poor. Now, regardless of your ethnic background or where you're from, if you fit into the system of qualifying, but just based on your race or ethnicity, you are not afforded anything any differently than you or I would get. I'm not sure that this is true. But we will continue to check, and I have some experts sitting here with me, and many of them are agreeing with me that, if they work, they pay their taxes, and now they may get other state benefits, but the way you phrased the question, I'm not aware of that, and I don't believe that to be true. But we'll keep checking if I hear anything else, but thank you so much for your call. Next on the line, we have, is that Linnell? Or Linnell? Linnell. Linnell, I'm sorry, I get this right. Linnell, go ahead.
Thank you, Congresswoman, for allowing me to speak. I'm a cancer survivor, 2013, and in 2013, my wife received her second master's, and I hear about all these jobs in Columbus, Ohio, from the senator and also you tonight. Where are these jobs? My wife has diligently been looking for these jobs, and she can't find one. Where are these jobs at?
And let me say this to you. I don't know what her area of specialty is, but I also know it is not automatic or easy, but with a master's degree, can you tell me a little more about her specialty?
Teaching and learning and technology. She has a master's in that. And the other one is,
while we're not, specifically in the employment business, but let me just say, in this community, from what little you shared, as we look at this being a district of innovation and research with some of the largest headquartered companies here, I think she could also reach out to some of the programs. For example, there are programs through the Urban League. There are internships and different avenues through some of our larger entities like the universities here. Frequently, as I'm surfing for people who come in, there are a plethora of jobs through whether it's Columbus State University, whether it's The Ohio State University. One of the things you may want to start with is making sure that she doesn't sell herself short on her resume. So often it is very difficult for us to sell ourselves as we can sell someone else. But if we can do more to help her with putting her portfolio, we can have her come to our office. We have social workers, and we would be able and willing to reach out with her. I cannot commit to a job, but we would be willing to at least try to make sure we can help her get on the right track.
Right. Congresswoman, I appreciate that, and if I could get a little more information and she could get to your office or wherever it is that she needs to get, we would surely appreciate that.
Well, let me just say it again. We are at 471 East Broad Street. We are on the 11th floor, and certainly we would be willing to provide any assistance that we can. Oftentimes we get information on job fairs, and we would be willing to help you. Thanks again for your call. We have a question now from one of our guests, Leslie.
Hi. My question, and I'm not really that informed to know what your positions would be, but I'm very interested in education and improving education for children, primarily early education, elementary and secondary. And so I'm just wondering what your position is and what initiatives you might be active with in the Columbus area, let alone the state, let alone nationally in this area.
Thank you so much, Leslie, for that question. Over the years, I've been actively involved in a wide range of educational issues. I like to say that education is birth through life. We hear K through 12 so often, but certainly we know education starts far before that child is 5 years of age entering school. It starts day one. Prior to coming to Congress, I was a senior vice president at The Ohio State University. Over my years, I've been very active in developing legislation as it relates to financial literacy, making sure that in our public schools, because so many of our suburban schools already had financial literacy in their curriculum. I worked on that for 8 years, if that tells you something about my stamina and endurance to make sure that part of the social studies curriculum had financial literacy. Also, I was very active with STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, making sure that our children understand the value of science and technology and engineering and math. I also have a bill that's helping teachers with tax credit for their supplies in the classroom. I think education is part of the economic engine. You can always find students in my office, whether it's in D.C., and I have one of my students. He was so scholarly, he didn't stay with us but how many days before the Senate gave him a full-time job. But I surround myself with college students, with high school students. I go out and give speeches. I mentor young folks because I think it's so important for us to give them the exposure and opportunity. Probably the most important thing for me is making sure that there is quality and affordable education and that we get an early start. I'm part of the Head Start generation, and I believe that it gave a great jump start for those young children before entering school. So let me just say I applaud all the teachers out there, and I'm one of your biggest fans for anyone who's teaching and helping our young folks learn and matriculate. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, we're going to go back and take another caller, and now we have Yolanda.
My name is Yolanda. I worked for 3 years with the Poindexter Village, trying to do a save the history of Poindexter Village. And as I worked on Poindexter Village, there's several themes that came up, and one was hiring of minority contractors. And we didn't see anybody that looked like us that was working on the highways and working on Poindexter. And also, I'm concerned about the education of the children who were displaced from Poindexter Village and what's going to happen to them. Is there any plans in place for those families who, by the way, were mostly single parents, single moms that were raising their children?
Let me just say thank you for that question. I'm not going to punt, but that's probably more a local issue for that. But let me give you a broad concept, because I think part of the $30 million as it relates to housing is a misnomer. It's also for health and education and keeping children of that community whole. There is some good news. I just read in Sunday's paper that our test scores in the inner city, which is where Poindexter, for the listening audience, Village is located, for the first time our scores went up across the board in our public schools. So I think that builds hope. I think part of what we have to make sure, not only as elected officials, but as good stewards and citizens, that it's that whole line, it takes a village for our children. So I think we have to look at this as an opportunity. Oftentimes when you relocate, you can also have different opportunities that will enhance your development. But lastly, you said something that is very dear and important to me. We need to make sure that we do have minority contractors, and that's minorities of all groups, including women, that we need to make sure that our young folks see us and people look like them, whether they're African American, whether they're a rural white kid, whether they're Asian or Hispanic. It is very important that young children understand that there are opportunities. So I think we need to work harder. I have been actively involved with a program through the Financial Services Committee that looks at having minorities and increasing the number of minorities with contracts and in the workplace. Certainly we know when we talk about equal pay, you mentioned single moms. Part of the When Women Succeed, America Succeeds was based on research, because you're absolutely right. It is just not in that community, but it's across the United States that there are more single moms. More women are in the workplace. There are more single moms than ever. And so that is a big push for our When Women Succeed, America Succeeds. Because when we look at women making 77 cents on the dollar of their male counterparts if they're white. If you're African American, it's 64% on that same dollar. If you're Hispanic, it's 54%. So we have to do a better job of making sure that we work with our young girls and give them role models and mentors. And I don't want to get in trouble. It's not just the girls. I'm very active with the President's program on My Brother's Keepers. So it's with our young men and our young ladies if we're going to have a more productive society. Thank you so much for your concern and calling in. Next, who do we have? We've got a lot of calls coming in. Next we have, it looks like Caleb. Caleb, are you on the line?
Yes.
Caleb, your voice sounds familiar. Did I have you on my call before?
Yes, you have. My name is Caleb Harper.
Hi, Caleb. How old are you this year?
12.
12, okay. We got to you a little earlier. As I recall, you held on the line, and you were my last call on the line. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what's your question, Caleb?
How can we decrease the unemployment rate?
Wow, that's probably one of my best calls for the night, because if we're going to talk about improving the economy and growing and have a thriving society, part of that has to be to make sure that everybody is employed. Let me tell you what I think. I think we have to do a better job with educating our population, and that doesn't necessarily mean college, because everybody's not going to go to college. So we have to have workforce development programs. We have to have training programs. We have to make sure that young folks know the plethora of opportunities that are out there. Because if we can get people trained, whether it's in workforce development with a skill, if we can get those to be able to go to college and afford it and not have a lot of debt, so when they graduate and they get a job, they can't pay for the education that they have and survive. So let me get real personal with you at 12. The answer for you is to stay in school. The answer for you is to work hard. The answer for you is to realize whatever goal that is that you have and understand that you can do it, and that there are members of Congress who are fighting for you every day to make sure that you can have a quality education and that you can be one of those who will become a productive citizen in the workforce. And certainly, again, if there's anything we can do, I admire you, and I am honored that you have been on my Teletown Hall again. So good luck to you, Caleb. We have another call. We have Wesley from Columbus. Wesley, are you there?
I am. I was just calling. I wanted to ask you about, you was talking about the infrastructure and heavy highway and different things like that. And I'm a retiree from Local 423 right here in Columbus, Ohio.
I'm very familiar with that local union.
Right. And also, a second question was about the black farmers, if they have received their money or they're going to get their money.
Let me just say I'm looking over to my staff. I don't know if they have received it yet. They have received their second payment, so let me give you an update on that they have. And I think the second part of your question was in need of jobs, and when is the funding coming for the highway? Let me just tell you, we talked about the Highway Reauthorization Fund. It expires at the end of next month, which is only a few days away. So we are very hopeful that the dollars I talked about, the $11 billion, will be in the works to be available prior to the end of next month, or we're going to be in real trouble. But I'm very hopeful on this, that this one is going to happen. Now, ideally it would be that we would fund it for 5 years or 6 years, and I think it's too early for us to say what type of fix. I've been against short-term funding, but more than likely this will be another short-term fix to get us through this period. Thank you so much. Next we have Penny on the line. And I think we're only going to be able to take maybe one more call. Penny, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hi, Congressman Beatty. It's a pleasure to be able to speak to you.
Okay.
I am a paralegal studies student at Kaplan University. I just graduated with my associates, and I'm right now currently taking my bachelor's. And I'm sorry, I'm nervous, but
That's all right.
My people power and politics class right now, one of our discussions is about the growth in modern presidential power, and several of my classmates feel that President Obama has overreached when it came to the Affordable Care Act. Now, one, didn't he need Congress's approval to pass that? And two, do you feel that he's overreaching when he's using his executive orders?
Thank you for that question, and let me say, because I've been on record saying this, that I do not feel that he was overreaching in using his executive powers. And I have said that previously with other presidents. I think there is a reason that you elect a president which is different than having a member of Congress that at some point in time the president has to make executive decisions, and I support that. Now, with that said, it does not necessarily mean that they can always exclude the Congress or our other legislative branches. But I think when you look at the atmosphere that he has been under, and let me just say this to you, he has issued fewer executive orders than previous presidents in recent years. And there is a significant difference in the number. So I answer that question that way. Let me also say to you, because I think you mentioned the Affordable Care Act was part of his overreaching. When you look at now the number of people who are insured, did we have some problems jump-starting it? Absolutely. Were there things in hindsight that maybe we could have done differently? But when you talk about the quality of life and you talk about education and jobs, if you are not healthy and if you are not well, then it's very difficult for you to do any of the other things. So I'm comfortable with what this president, and I would say other Democrat and Republican presidents, when they use their presidential powers, I was not bothered or upset by it. Thank you for your call, and do we have time for one more call? Because we have several calls on. I'm hearing I can take 1, 2. Okay, we're going to stretch it because we have several people, and we have, Barbara from Columbus?
Oh, hello, Congressman Beatty. I want to thank you for your service that you've been working at. And my question is there a way that we can have placed in the paper the way each representative from Ohio votes on all issues? I know it's on websites and all, but any way it can be published on any of the bills that you have to vote on.
Well, I think you gave the answer I was going to give you to make sure that you and the listening audience know that you can always not only go to the website, but you can put our names in, and it would tell you how we voted on any issue. And if you didn't even know the issue, you can just put the name in votes, and it will give you every vote. Also, and I know because I've said this, everybody does not have a laptop, iPad, or a computer, but I can tell you, you can also see it on C-SPAN. You can also write in to the legislative branch and request it. If you wanted to know on a specific vote how any member of Congress voted, it is public information, and it could be provided to you. And many constituents do make that request. So thank you for that. This is our last question, and this question is Susan from Columbus.
Yes.
Susan, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Susan, what's your question?
My question is whether you're in favor of renewing the funding for the Export-Import Bank.
Oh, thank you for that question. For our listening audience, I serve on the prestigious Financial Services Committee, and one of the issues that we've been looking at is the Export-Import Bank, and let me tell you, I am a big proponent of that. I am in support of that. I am very hopeful that we can bring that to a vote. And let me just say, this is something over the years that as we've looked at it has been a bipartisan bill. It's good for the economy. It's good for our international business. And I can tell you with our Central Ohio members of Congress, we are actually all on the same page. I might reference for you 3 days ago the Columbus Dispatch did a huge article on the Export-Import Bank, and there were also constituents who weighed in with comments who were also in support of it. So here's another issue that hopefully we would be able to bring to a vote, and hopefully it would pass. Thank you so much for that. Let me just say to those of you, if I didn't get to you, you can always feel free to give us a call at 614-220-0003 or 202-225-4324, the numbers for both of my offices. And I want to tell you how much I enjoyed this Teletown Hall Conference. And let me say, our audience is still here. Let's give them a round of applause. And also, I can say to you, please feel free to visit my website, www.beatty.house.gov, if you would like to sign up for my congressional newsletter and to receive updates about future town hall events. Thank you again for your time and your participation. It was great to speak with you, and I wish you all the best of the rest of the year and this summer upcoming season. And I'll be home. We're having a break, excited about our job tours. And again, feel free to give us a call or to go to our website. Once again, www.beatty.house.gov. Good night.